This is the HomeTech Podcast for Friday, September 30th. From sunny Sarasota, Florida, I'm Seth Johnson.
From Powell, Ohio, I'm CJ Huddleston.
And from cold Pickering, Ontario, I'm Gavin Campbell.
And welcome to the HomeTech Podcast, a podcast about all aspects of home technology, home automation, weather events. Yeah, it's going to storm here. How do you know I'll make it is if the podcast does get posted on Friday.
I don't
Saturday,
know.
one of the days,
or Sunday or the following Monday this weekend.
Yeah.
And what's hilarious about all of us is that we're all going to get affected by this hurricane. You know, obviously, Seth, you're going to get the worst of it, but it's going to travel up to Ohio. We're going to have a day or two of awful weather, and it's going to go up to Canada. I think it's already been up there, hasn't it, Gavin?
Yeah, and the one thing I'm nervous, it might affect our pawpaw crops up here. So I don't want that to happen. There's a short window when we are able to get and eat these pawpaws, and I just don't want that to affect it.
You need to move. That shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Well, we're making a ton of money off these router hats, and the special edition Ubiquity Dream Saver one you came up with is really hot to try it. So yeah, routerhats.com, everybody, if you want to go check out that from last week's show.
How many domains are you up to now, Seth? I mean,
I
feel like it must be like a several dozen, right? Like your domain bill every year must be like nuts.
I mean, you can pace them out. Like the important ones, you can pay more than 1 year at a time, and then you don't really worry about them for a while.
It amazes me that you could just spin up a website just that quickly. You know, like you had little routers with hats on them and everything. Like it was amazing.
It's not very hard. Photoshop is actually pretty good these days. In object detection and masking and all this fun stuff. So it didn't take very long. It took me longer to pick out the hats, honestly. So as one would expect. But
oh man, this is great. This can be a total business by itself.
It really could be. I'm convinced of it.
Etsy.
All right. Let's move on here. We've got a bunch of stuff to talk about today, and most of it is around, well, there's going to be a couple of events that we're going to talk about. We'll go over those later in the show. But there's a bunch of stuff happening this week. Corsedia is this week, but we're not going to talk about it till next week. I think all the show news and everything is going to come out of it as we go through this week. There's an Amazon event too, so we'll talk about all that later. But we've got some follow-up things to talk about, and a couple of news stories that kind of came to our attention this week. But first up, fiber. Gavin, what's going on here? You're telling me that you got fiber to your house?
Well, the lines are there. So I heard some banging at the side of my house today. Ran outside. There were two guys there. You know, they were dressed official and they were doing something at the side of my house. So I felt safe. Right. But after questioning them for a bit, I realized they were actually running the fiber line. So the line is there. It's at the side of the house. It's not connected yet. There's a nice little trench in my lawn. Tomorrow I'll find out if they cut through my irrigation system at all. That will be fun. But it's almost here. I can't wait. You know, like getting gigabit upload or multi-gigabit upload. It will be sweet.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, I have news here too. I was watching the neighbor's house while they were out of town, and noticed they had a package on the front door. Ran up there and got the package. And then I was like looking around and there was some trash on the ground. I'm like, oh, I better pick that up for them. And it was one of these door hanger things that you see these guys go around and hang on the door when they don't get to talk to anybody. And clearly there wasn't one at my house, but there was one at theirs. And I picked it up and I looked at it, and I've got this now. I don't know if you guys can see this.
Ooh.
It says Gigabit America. What does it say?
Building
Gigabit. Yeah. And it's got a guy on VR, which has nothing to do with gigabit internet, but whatever.
You obviously need gigabit internet for that.
Yeah. It says right here, they're expanding Frontier into my neighborhood and to give them a call. And I stole this from my neighbor's house and gave them a call. And sure enough, Frontier is going to be doing the fiber hookups in, they said November. Now, who knows what's going to happen after this week? It's probably going to take them another year, but good news. I could get up to, see, I saw this logo. 2 gig right there. Ooh. Which isn't the alarm panel, oddly enough. It says 2 gig. 1 gig or 2 gig. And I did confirm, or I talked to him. I think the 1 gig was like $60 or $79 a month, something like that. I mean, it was roughly half of what I'm paying now. So.
I'd say that's not bad at all.
No, not at all. And it's symmetrical. So one up, one down. I'll take it.
Any data
Done.
caps? Do you know?
No, I don't think they have data caps either. They just
Nice.
like their internets. So yeah, I will take it.
I'm so happy for you, Seth. After all these
Bring
years of struggling, you're
Oh,
finally
the house is
coming
going to get
up to
knocked
date.
down tomorrow anyway. So what's it matter? We'll see what happens.
At least you'll have gigabit internet.
At least, yeah. It's like we got to get the essentials back on: power and internet. So, yeah. Ron's saying it's time to batten down the hatches. Yep, I've been doing that today. It's when I got the plywood behind me. I got all half of my windows. I think I got like 5 or 6 more to do. They're the big ones, so I saved those for the last, I guess. There's a new skill that Alexa can do. You put in here, Gavin, talking about how you can turn your lights off in a couple minutes.
Yeah, these are one of the things. These are the things. Alexa is always changing, and you never hear about these things until somebody tries it, and then you see a Reddit thread about it. So apparently, if you say, "Hey, lady, turn off the light in 3 minutes," it will now set a timer to turn off the light. So you could be leaving a room and tell her to turn it off in 30 seconds, and she'll turn it off in 30 seconds. It's a new feature. It's kind of cool. I tried it. I was like, hey, that actually worked. I was actually surprised it worked.
That's cool. No, it really is nice.
Yeah, it's a good idea. And I'm sure it wasn't that hard to implement, you know?
We're always bad talking her, So, when she does something good, you got to really, point it out. Like, I really hate when she does things like change shades to blinds or blinds to shades. It's, like, that drives me nuts. One day she'll, respect when I say blinds. The other day she won't, and I have to call it shades. I don't know why.
That's weird. That it rolls back and forth from day to day. It just depends on which server you're talking to, and it's got a different patch on it. It's like, oh, this has got the shade patch, and that's got the blinds patch. Whoops.
Do a little A and B testing.
Sorry.
It's probably true.
Yeah, it's A/B testing on you, and yeah, that's funny. And then you got here some notes about some new Habitat firmware update. That is
So Habitat released a new 2.3.3 firmware update this week, and as usual, it's got new drivers, new apps, new app features. They retired some apps, lots and lots of bug fixes, which was kind of scary that they have so many bugs to fix, but at least they're getting fixed, and some significant platform updates. So like behind the scenes stuff, modifications to Z-Wave, Zigbee, that type of stuff. So it's worth the update. Just go out there and update it, and They left out one feature. They pulled it at the last minute. I don't know if I can really talk about it.
Nobody's listening. Go ahead and tell us.
I was looking so forward to it. It's mentioned in the forums. So it's the HomeKit integration they were working on. So at the last minute they pulled it. I guess they want to just get it working much better. So I'm looking forward to when they finally release that, because then you won't need Homebridge anymore.
Yeah, nice. It'd be nice to get rid of at least one dependency, and they can kind of roll their own platform on it and just kind of build it in a little bit tighter than what you can do with with Homebridge.
Yeah, and they're making some big moves. So they don't really talk about what they're working on, but somebody pointed out that they showed up on the Matter. The Matter list of companies. So
The CSA group, I think.
The CSA group. So that being said, now is like we can kind of expect them to be doing something with Matter in the near future.
Yeah, maybe they are going to do like a more official integration, and this was like just how they're planning it out or something. So that interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, very cool. All right, go update. You're supposed to update. You must update.
Update all the things.
Because, what do you say we jump into some HomeTech headlines?
Let's do it.
Yeah, because if you don't update, the European Commission is going to come get you. I was trying to transition to that, and then I realized we have the little sound thing to play. It wasn't going to work. But the European Commission wants to ensure that everyday connected appliances are less vulnerable to cyber attacks by mandating that manufacturers strengthen security through their whole life cycles. The Cyber Resilience Act, presented on Thursday in Brussels, aims to become a global standard by introducing mandatory cybersecurity requirements for every product with digital elements, kind of known as basically Internet of Things devices, and it will make give more consumers more information about those products and what they're buying. The Commission's proposal will oblige manufacturers to take cybersecurity into account when designing and developing their products and ensure that any vulnerabilities are handled effectively for the expected product lifetime or for a period of 5 years, whichever is shorter. It's kind of interesting, 5 years. And they'll also have to actively report any exploit or vulnerabilities, incidents, all that good stuff, provide security updates for at least 5 years, and provide consumers with, quote, clear and understandable instructions for the use of the products with digital elements. Manufacturers who do not comply with this will basically either have their products banned from the single market, or they'll be slapped with a fine of between 2% and 5% of global turnover. So it's got some teeth to it. It's just got to make it through the commission here and pass. But I'm okay with this. This sounds pretty good. People should be doing this, right?
Getting a smackdown. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of disappointed that it's not like 10 years. I mean, 5 years is definitely a good time. But for example, like an iPhone gets updates for, 6, 7, or 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like mission critical infrastructure should get it a little bit longer. But this is definitely more than like any government official in America is going to do. So can't really complain about that part.
Maybe they'll publish that expected lifetime, right? So if the lifetime is 6 years, we're like, well, we'll handle this all the way through 6 years. Or if it's 4 years or 2 years or 1 year, who would buy a product that has 1 year of support, right? No, I want the one that has 6.
Yep.
Because it's more than the average or whatever. Yeah, it's a pretty good idea.
This is awesome. Like it's a good first step. I just hope that 1 year this will make it to other parts of the world, because all that's going to happen is they probably just will leave their devices out of Brussels just to stay away from this, not have to deal with this, right? It's like, listen, we could do all this shady stuff around the world unless, just don't go to Brussels, right?
Well, I think this is like anywhere in the EU this would apply to. Once this passes, it would be any EU country, and either you're going to sell in EU or you're just going to be not selling there, or you're going to get fined. Like that's.
But it's great. This is what we've been complaining about for many years. Like I think we even had a rant on the show once when Wise did it with their Wise Cam. They just said, "Oh, we're no longer supporting this, but it has a security vulnerability," right? This is the type of stuff that I like to see. Like these devices as they get older, either get them out of the place so we don't have the vulnerable devices out there, or still continue to patch them. 5 years is a bit too short, because some of these IoT devices last longer than that, but at least it's a good start.
You bring up a good point too, Seth, about the, having it on the packaging or something like that. I really think that's what eventually needs to happen with all these electronics, is that you're basically given a set time that at some point it's not going to be updated anymore. Here's kind of the time frame for it, like just like an expiration date for food. This product's going to last you till September 23rd of 2028, and then at that point you should retire it and get a new device. And maybe that is walking towards this, and I would like that myself.
And like my fire alarms have that type of thing. When they reach the end of life, they start giving you a little chirp, which is an indication that, hey, we need to be replaced now. We're no longer supported.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and even on the packaging there, they tell you don't use these after 10 years or 5 years or, whatever the limit is on them. But, I think this is a great idea. And the EU's not like, it's not like the crossover from the product that comes out of Europe to here is not the same. Like they have different products, completely different products, different manufacturers, different form factors of devices, lighting control systems, all sorts of stuff. So like, I think this is a good model though. And if we could get something like we don't need the US to do something like, we just need like California to pull something like this off. Then, everybody else will like, well, you can't sell a product in California. Forget it. Like you're going to have to do it. And that's what's happened on some of the the password initiative for California, right? They passed a law that said you couldn't use default admin login, right? You had to, the first time you log in, your device has to set up and you have to do a new password. And now, like every time I go into a device, I've changed the stupid password. So it's like, I try to change it back to admin, it won't let me. So it's that's good. I mean, that's good security practice and everything. Now it's just admin 1234 ! That's good enough. Anyway, that's security. Well, speaking of security here, Yale is updating its flagship product with a brand new design. a wider range of connectivity options, and even more styles to suit your home. The previously leaked Yale Assure Lock 2 is out and priced between $160 and $260 and available in 4 main variations. There's 2 touchscreen models, both with and without a key cylinder, and 2 keypad models, 1 keyed and 1 key free. By default, all models will include Bluetooth connectivity, though you can upgrade to a version with built-in Wi-Fi. But perhaps the most interesting part of this is they'll all be able to accept add-on modules that will enable additional wireless connectivity. So it's easy to upgrade your lock after you've bought it. It's kind of nice. Additionally, Yale says, I think they did this before, right? I'm pretty sure like they have already had these modules for Yale locks. But additionally, Yale says the Assure Lock 2 will be one of the first Matter-compatible smart locks, so they'll have one of those modules available for that later this year. TJ, you're the lock guy. Tell me, what do you think about this?
Honestly, I think this is a pretty attractive lock. I mean, it doesn't look like anything too crazy. They've made it a little bit smaller than the previous versions. I really like the previous versions myself, and I always get the one with the key and the physical buttons. I don't like the idea of not having a physical key override in case the electronics die. And I don't like to have to worry about if my fingers are going to touch the buttons if it's like one of the touchscreen ones. But I think this is a great lock for the $200 price range. The little modules make it super easy, so you can get whatever variant you want. You can get Wi-Fi, Zigbee, Z-Wave, or even Matter coming up. So it's a no-brainer if you're just looking for a great-looking lock, and that just works every single time.
So there's a touchscreen one and then a keypad one that has like physical buttons. Is that what I'm getting at?
Yeah, so basically you have 2 different options. One is without a key and one is with a key. And then each option has a physical button or a touchscreen option. So you get to basically choose if you want a key or not.
Oh, yeah, these look way better than the previous versions.
Yeah, the other ones weren't like, the best looking. They were, they looked like locks. I mean, they weren't attractive or anything. But these, I think, genuinely look nice.
Yeah, no, they look great compared to the other ones. And these other ones are the ones that I always like with the keypad feature. I think if you like put your hand over all the keypad or whatever, it will detect that and it'll lock the door. Like that's a feature. But always when I'm walking by, I would like touch it and it would lock and I would pull the door behind me and it would slam with the cylinder coming out into the door frame.
Break everything.
Every single time. Yeah, it breaks, makes a mess. So I did not like that keypad, but so you can get the keypad feature and not have that problem, hopefully.
Yeah.
It'll probably be something else to annoy me, but this looks pretty cool. I do like this. Gavin, are you going to get some of these?
I might get one. I already have 2 Yale locks. I only have 3 doors. So I have 2 Yale locks. I have them without the key, but I figure the chances of them both dying at the same time and I can't get into my house are very slim, right? It'll probably happen to me next week now, but like right now.
That key is a liability. Somebody can pick that lock. I know a guy.
Oh, get out of here. It's hilarious. Every time I'm on Reddit or something, everybody's like, don't get the one with key. Somebody's going to pick your lock. And I'm like, you realize like nobody's going around just picking
You
locks,
just need a
right?
bump key. You just bump it and
Bricks are so much cheaper, guys.
Yeah. Nobody come on.
Throw a brick through a window and then you're in.
The people that have these smart locks usually have like glass doors or something. Yeah. So you can easily walk through it. Or you put it on like a really old garage door from the early 1900s that you can just kick in.
It's amazing how you being in security, like how technically advanced people think criminals are. Like, no, what's going to happen is you're going to leave your door open and they're just going to walk in and steal something and walk right back out. Yeah. That's what's going to happen.
I always imagine a criminal coming up to my house and, cutting my lines, cutting my internet, cutting my power, then going around to the back and then cutting the camera line. They're just going to run and take whatever. And then you're going to have camera footage, give it to the police, and they're just going to say nothing we can do about this.
Yep. Sorry.
Yeah. We don't know.
Oh yeah, he's a regular.
Yeah. We know who he is, but no.
He's bad news.
Stay away from him.
It was always funny being a locksmith. I'd go to these lockout calls and somebody locked their key inside the restaurant or the business or their house or whatever. And you try to pick it for like 2 to 5 minutes. And then after that, if you can't get it, like you're pretty much not going to pick it open. So you just drill it open at that point. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, like, what do you mean you can't just pick it open? Like, it always takes like 30 seconds on the movies. And I'm like, yeah, that's a perfect situation and a really awful lock.
You got to get the lock picking lawyer. He can get them open pretty quickly.
Have you ever been in the middle of a parking lot trying to break into your own car because you locked the keys inside it and not one person stopped to see what was up?
Yeah.
You know, they just kept walking by like, oh, yeah, look, guy's breaking into his car. No one ever stopped to say, hey, is that your car? You know,
they probably notice how awful you are at it. They're like, well, obviously that guy's not a criminal. So
that's my first car.
You don't have to worry about that.
He doesn't have a brick in his hand.
Or a spark plug.
A spark plug, exactly. Yeah. Get that sharp porcelain. Interesting. I like this. I have a dead Schlage lock over there that needs a replacing, and it looks kind of this. It's the same vintage as the previous Yale one, so it kind of looks the same. But this looks a lot nicer. You're right. I like this, and having like the door. If you do get the key built into it, it looks like it's flat or built into it. It looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's good design. Very good design.
Very nice.
All right. Well, let's move on here. We got a couple more new products on here. So confirming some rumors, Google has unveiled Chromecast with Google TV, in parentheses HD. It's a device that offers features from the $50 4K model at a significantly cheaper $30 price. So unlike the original $35 Chromecast, it actually comes with a remote, which eliminates the need to use a smartphone, which is nice. Remotes are great. And that you can control it with the mobile device as well if you wanted. Other key features here, right there in the name, it's got a lower 1080p resolution, but it does keep the HDR support. So that's kind of nice. The new device looks identical to the 4K model with an oval shape, short HDMI cable, and USB-C input. Comes preloaded with all the popular streaming services, including Netflix, Disney+, Apple TV Plus, I guess, HBO Max, Prime Video, YouTube, and everything else, basically, because it's a Chromecast. And what else would you expect? Seems like a pretty good deal. I don't know why they would focus so heavily on making like it $20 cheaper when the $50 model is sitting right there and can do 1080p with HDR. But I guess if you want to save $20, now is your time.
Yeah, that's what I guess I was confused about. And I thought this was like one of the original Chromecasts, and I was even more confused by that. But I guess if you're comparing this to like a Fire TV or something, you might find this more appealing. But other than that, I agree. I don't know why they spent time on this to make it $20 cheaper. But it's a thing you can buy now.
I can't talk on. I've never had a Chromecast, never looked at one. So
these ones work pretty good. I mean, honestly, I had the 4K one when it first came out, and I liked it because it was just like the Chromecast, but it gave you the physical remote, so you didn't have to have your phone every single time. But I think it's a great device for the price. And I think the remote is probably one of the better ones out there too. So worth it for $50.
$30, right? $30.
Well, yeah, that one's $30. Yeah, I was thinking the 4K though. Might as well just get 4K.
Might as well, yeah.
In my opinion,
I was comparing it to like maybe the Apple TV, but they're totally different price ranges at that point, right? Like up here, it's probably
like Apple TV is like 120 to 150, I think.
Or even more, I think now with the 4K versions and stuff, right? So, yeah, I guess for that price, it's worth it.
Yeah, it looks like you're right. It looks like they're competing with Fire TV because the Fire TV Lite is basically $29. Comes with a remote. You get the one with the Alexa voice remote included for $10 more. And then for $50, you're basically price matched right there with the 4K Fire Stick, which everything I've ever heard about the Fire Stick things, like they're not great. Like
I don't like them. They always go really slow for me.
Slow.
And I think I've had problems with them too after like 6 to 12 months too. It's like they just get even worse.
Yeah.
Honestly though, what I just thought of is Google got rid of the Chromecast audio. And what they should do with this is just add a 3.5 millimeter port and just make it a Chromecast audio and Chromecast TV all in one, or Google TV, I guess. But that way you could have a Chromecast audio source all in one device.
You're just trying to get sued by Sonos, man. That's
so Google, if you're listening, make that happen. Pay your patents though.
Pay your patents first and then do that.
Because that's a genius idea. I wonder if anybody's thought of that yet.
There you are. Speaking of Sonos, and just made a joke there, but Victrola, this is a brand that's been making record players for more than 100 years, has introduced the Stream Carbon. It's a $800 turntable that can directly connect to a Sonos system and allows you to stream your records all over the home. Have you ever wanted whole house record audio?
And a lot of people do.
Yeah, it's common, I guess. Victrola says it's one of the first of a few more planned devices in the Stream lineup as well. So I have to keep an eye on them and see what they come out with there. Hardware wise, the Stream Carbon is it's a belt driven turntable with aluminum platter and an Ortofon 2M red cartridge. I don't know. I'm not a record guy. There we go. Thank you. It's got a built-in preamp. I know what that is. Traditional RCA outputs, also know what that is. And if you want to hook it up to older speakers, that's what you would use. It's also got wireless and Ethernet connectors. If you didn't want to put it on the Wi-Fi network, I guess it's kind of common with Sonos gear, like especially the higher end Sonos gear, you'd have both Wi-Fi and Ethernet connectivity. So that's nice. And design wise, it looks pretty minimal. It's got a knob on the front there that Victrola says can control the volume of the audio that's being played, and the speaker groupings somehow. I'm not sure how that works, but it seems interesting. I don't know. Gavin, it sounds like I know that you have records and you know how to say ortophone. So are you gonna get one of these?
I won't get one of those. I have 2 turntables as it is in the back there, and I just hooked them up through my Sonos Play 5. So that's how I get it into the Sonos ecosystem through that. But this totally makes sense because you can get one of these and you don't have to have a Play 5 or any input device. It just, through the network, it adds it in. It saves you some money. It's an expensive turntable. And the only gripe I have about it needs a dust cover. Like these things gather dust. Why would you not have like a minimalist dust cover? Or are they going to sell that as an accessory for another $200? We'll see.
I thought it came with one, but it was like a partial dust cover or something.
Nah, it was one of the gripes on there. It said it didn't have a dust cover.
Interesting.
Record players gather dust. Trust me, a dust cover is like essential. Like even my mom's old record players from the 60s had dust covers.
I remember playing with my dad's record players, and sometimes we can get them to work, but we didn't use them very often. But they had these big like plexiglass covers you had to take off of them. So yeah.
Yeah, it is pretty nice looking. And if you go online, a lot of people are always asking how to connect their record player to Sonos. And the only answer you have is to buy like a Connect or a port or even a Play 5 and connect it directly to there. This is a nice all-in-one solution. $800, I think it's a lot of money for a connected turntable. But if it integrates directly and you don't have to do anything funky with it, then it totally makes sense.
I hope you're not just paying for the tech in this turntable, though. I hope it's a solid turntable, right? Like if it's a flimsy turntable and you're paying all that money just for the tech, I wouldn't be happy with it.
No, I would assume that it's a very nice turntable. But even if it, realistically, it's maybe a $200 or $300 turntable, depending on what you value the Sonos, connection as. So, I mean, a $200 or $300 record player is pretty nice, but if you already have an existing one, then this doesn't do anything for you. You might as well just get the Porter 5.
Yeah, just doing the math. If you take the $799 price point and subtract $450 for the Sonos, was it port? I guess you would have to have
at a minimum.
Yeah. Then you're left with $350. So that would be an okay record player, right? It's an okay price point. I mein, they're probably paying a little bit more for Sonos and licensing and all that stuff. And yeah, so it's probably $150 record player at that point. But at least, like you said, it's a turnkey solution. You don't have to go jump through these hoops to get everything set up the way you want. And the only thing it's missing is seems to be a dust cover. So what are you going to do?
Well, maybe you'll get a cheaper option here soon. So
yeah, they did say that there was going to be some
more stream turntables will be coming, hopefully at a lower price point. So
does it at least come with a 45 adapter for my 45s? Did they skip out on that too? Is that a 45 adapter in the back? I can't tell.
I just realized even with this thing, this has got a knob. So how we can't put this inside the database, but we definitely need to get those Yale locks in the database.
Oh, absolutely.
And even some of the other things like the Google Chromecast with the remote. It's got a remote now, so we got to get that in there. So PBD.
PBB.
All right. Well, all the links and topics we discussed tonight can be found on our show notes at HomeTech.fm/406. Nothing in the mailbag this week, but we do have a fun pick of the week. I think someone posted this in our Slack chat. TJ, was this you? Were you the original? Were you the OP, the original poster?
I was. I found it while mindlessly browsing Reddit, so you're welcome.
This is really cool. It is someone has taken their basement in the land where you can have basements, and they have taken their basement and basically made it into a 1980s version of a video store. And took them four long years, and I believe it. But it's very well decorated. It's got the what's it, linoleum tile floor with like checkered floor. It's got what would be neon in the 80s. It's probably LEDs now, because who would buy neon? Run around the top. The ceiling's painted black. It's like got a red and black motif, but walls and walls and walls of videos. This is kind of like one of those. I've seen people do this before when they're doing like themed theaters. Like they'll do like a room before the theater that kind of like brings you into that theme, and then when you're in the theater, it's like a themed theater for that as well. It's kind of what they have here as well. Like it's a room that's like a precursor to his theater, but maybe he's got like a workout room too, with some workout equipment and everything in it as well. Like buns of steel, I'm sure is in there. But this is a pretty elaborate setup here. This is pretty incredible. Just flipping through and looking at like the covers of the DVDs and everything. He's even got like a snack bar and places to sit. Kind of brings back some memories of going to the video store back in the 80s.
He left out no details. I thought this was great. He has VHS. He has Laserdisc. The part that got me laughing was he even included the adult-only room. Like that like that kind of detail just completes the whole thing. The posters brought back memories of some of the movies. This would be a great place to just, go and watch one of these old movies.
Yeah, I'm looking through here to see if we can find the original poster on here to see if he has any additional details. But man, one of the top comments is here. It's like a memory, but you can go there. It's like, that's a great. Yes. That's great. Yes, again. Are there late fees? Yeah. It was anything like my Blockbuster, where I would go and get charged, just unreasonable late fees for not returning my videos. I won't like it very much, and I will continue to use my Plex server, but to each their own. This is actually really cool. I do like this.
I don't know if you noticed, but did you notice that the kitchen is actually hidden behind the movie shelf?
The kitchen is hidden behind the movie shelf.
Yes. So look for the picture with the kitchen, and you'll see how the movie shelves open up right before it.
Genius.
Oh, yeah. It's like a doorway, and you just kind of like push through and go into the kitchen. Yeah.
Like it's
hidden
little
kitchen.
Details like that I like.
Very cool. Yeah. No, he definitely put some blood, sweat, and tears into this thing. This is crazy.
Looks very well done.
Yeah. All these shelves of videos and everything. Wow. Incredible. The anti-streamer, I guess.
Do you have this? That was only on Netflix.
You know how much time he wastes having to rewind those tapes?
Because nobody ever does it for you.
Yeah, exactly. Used to have tape rewinders. You guys remember those?
Yep.
Well, most VCRs have them built in now. Jeez.
I mean, it was a separate
device. We had
device.
a rewind button on our VCR set.
Yeah.
I had that too, but it was a separate device. Like you could rewind it a lot faster. Yeah. VCRs were great technology.
Until your tape got chewed up.
Yeah, or the head wore out or whatever. But it was.
Or your mom accidentally records over your WWF recordings with her daytime television.
Young and the Restless or whatever it is.
Yeah. Right over Royal Rumble. Oh, man.
He's not bitter.
All right. The Yale Sherlocks have been added to the price per button database. So
good deal.
All right. I feel better now.
Yep. All right. Well, if you've got any feedback, comments, picks of the weeks, or great ideas for a show, give us a shout. Our email address is feedback@HomeTech.fm, or you can go over to HomeTech.fm/feedback and fill out the online form. All right. We got some events coming up.
Oh,
Big
yes.
events.
Yes.
Big ones. This week, of course, is I know we did a lot of talking about the Ohio Paw Paw Festival, but here in Florida, we actually have a plywood and gasoline generator smell festival going on this week. I'm not sure how long it's going to go on, but that'll be happening.
I think they call that hurricane.
and let's see, the Amazon hardware event that is going to be on the 28th. So here in a couple days, 2 days, on Wednesday, we'll have something to watch while the hurricane's rolling through. And then CEDIA actually starts on the 29th, goes through the 1st. So there's going to be a bunch of stuff coming out of the Pro Space and talked about out of that. It'll probably have this week full of news. They generally start leaking and launching things ahead of the show. And then next week on the 6th, so we'll probably get back on our recording schedule on the 1st, right? Or not on the 1st, but on the Monday. So we'll talk about CEDIA and Amazon. That'll be good. And then we've got Made by Google, which is right after that on the 6th. That'll happen. We'll probably talk about that the next week. But lots going on. And there's a state of the open home talk that'll be going on in November. So November 13th. Mark your calendar. That's Home Assistant's going to be doing that. And there's actually a bunch more vendors besides Home Assistant. But as that gets closer, I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit more. But kind of cool to see all this stuff kind of like going on and all these products and everything, new gear coming out. And, maybe we'll even have a Matter event to talk about sometime soon. I don't know. Busy calendar in the next couple of weeks.
I like to see all these events other than Apple get highlighted, like it makes things exciting. And, Amazon always has an interesting event. Same with Google, they have interesting events. And, Cydia, you pros go crazy. I don't know why around Cydia.
I don't know either.
It feels like everything leaks from there. We've heard about it before.
Gosh. I need new brackets for my thermostats and stuff. That's why.
Oh, okay.
It's got to be a flush mount Nest thermostat. I need a bracket for that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. There's all the Home Pro stuff will be. We'll have some updates from some companies on that. Like I guess Crestron's going back to the show. And that's good for Crestron. I feel bad for them because they kind of like pulled out of the show because like Resi's not going to be a thing at Crestron. They left the market basically. They get back into it with different leadership, really focused on doing something really cool in the home. They start launching Crestron. What is it?
Crestron Home.
Crestron Home. Yeah, looks like a sweet product. It's got like modern design to it, like modern programming design to it. It's a modern product for 2020. It is the most modern home automation platform there is. And then like COVID hits and they have supply chain issues and you can't buy any of their stuff. Like it's I do feel bad for them. And then they're like, oh, let's go back to the show and talk about all the stuff you can't buy. But yeah. I don't know. It should be a good show. There's already been some like I've had a couple of leaks of some products that people have been talking about, and then I don't know. There's already been a couple of interesting things posted, like Origin Acoustics getting Velodyne branding back. Like they're going to either import Velodyne or just pay for the branding and do their own speakers. I don't really know how that works, but I assume that they're just paying for the Velodyne name and maybe some proprietary technology or something like that, but we'll talk about that later in our Cydia roundup or whatever we're Cydia/Amazon roundup we're gonna do next week somehow. I'll have plenty of time, trust me. I'm pretty sure as long as I have power, I'll be able to get this done. But I don't know. It should be a busy couple of weeks, and I'm glad for it because there were some times during the summer like there wasn't really much going on. Like looking around like what project there's no news at all with the supply chain crunch and like the news cycle. It was dead. So glad to see we are starting to get some announcements back from these companies.
Should we take a bet on how many times we'll see Matter mentioned in the Cydia news ecosystem?
It's got to be pretty low, don't you think?
Probably like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. Is Matter big for them at all?
No.
Matter doesn't matter for anybody.
It doesn't matter for anybody. Definitely not integrators. So I'd be curious to know if any Matter news comes out of it, because everybody's got their own communication standard anyway.
Right.
I'm sure nobody in the professional space is waiting for this, but I'm curious to see if any company is like, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to support Matter as well.
Well, they've already been doing the architecture and everything like in more proprietary ways, but they've already been doing what Matter. They've already solved what Matter is trying to solve, right? Just on smaller, admittedly smaller systems or smaller. Fewer devices, I guess I'll say.
But I want to be able to add my $20 smart plug to my $5 million Control 4 system.
Exactly. I don't
How
know.
are you going to add it?
But yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before with Gavin and his firmware updates, like in doing the Zigbee firmware updates, like with Control 4 and Crestron, you just push a button and it's just taken care of. And if you come back to it and it says update failed, it's like, okay, well, maybe I'll go reset the device. And when it wakes back up, it'll go back into its firmware update thing. But I mean, I've never had the experience that Gavin's had when updating firmware, but I can see how it can be a different thing on the DIY side where the manufacturers of those Zigbee devices and light switches and everything don't necessarily know what the other side is, what is connected to them. So they kind of have to be more generic.
With your firmware updates, though, you're not updating Z-Wave devices or Zigbee devices. You're updating, I guess, Crestron devices, I'm guessing, at that point.
Well, depending on who it is, it could be Zigbee. Not Z-Wave, though. I don't think anybody uses Z-Wave, but Control 4 uses Zigbee.
Control 4 uses Z-Wave as well. They have some Z-Wave devices they support now.
Interesting.
And I think the new core processors actually have this 700, is that right? Z-Wave 700 chip?
Yeah.
So they've got that built in now. But I think that was limited towards like door lock, like just a few Z-Wave devices. I don't think they support everything, and I have no idea how to write drivers for it. Because if I did, I'd probably try my hand at it, but I don't think they've ever published an API around that. No, ask around. Anyway, should be fun. Should be a fun week, and we'll have to get back to it. So
firmware updates drain the battery. Now I'm going around switching batteries on all the devices I updated.
Yeah, it makes me wonder. I had some devices I was using like for garage door sensors, and I put an alert on them because you can measure the battery like level on them, and it'll report when the battery's low. So I have like a little report that sends me an email when the battery's low, and they died a long time ago, and I put new batteries in them, and they came back online and started working, whatever. But I'm thinking I got it like a few days later, I got a like low critical battery level. Like, wait a minute, I just put new batteries in. I bet that's what happened. Even on the Control 4 system, I bet it was updating the firmware and just kind of took out the battery. Now I should probably go put another battery in before it dies.
Yeah, Z-Wave devices they sleep a lot, right? And then they have a configuration option where you can say wake up every 12 hours and report in. And usually when that reports in, it will say, hey, I'm here. And then the controller can do whatever it wants and then, let it go back to sleep, right? The only other time it checks in is like if it was a sensor, it would check in when that sensor gets tripped. Then it will just send its value, right? So when you're doing a firmware update, basically that device is staying awake that whole time. So it drains the battery. So if it's your garage door openers and that is too short, then you want to change it to like every 12 hours, 24 hours and let it sleep. That's fine. It will help with the battery. Or if you were doing firmware updates, that's probably what could have happened there too.
Yeah, I bet that's what it was. I just thought about it after piecing all this together in our conversation now. That's probably what it was. One thing I have here is like Cydia show number bets. I don't know. You guys want to, like last year, they reported basically 1,400 people showed up and they were like, oh, this is a success. But now this is going to be in Dallas. It's not in Indianapolis. I've heard excitement.
They're going to have like record turnout or something, supposedly.
Well, I mean, if you're starting at 1,400, there's only one way to go. So if you want to say it's a record, but I don't know. I've been hearing people are going. I've been hearing people are not going.
So what's your number?
I'm going to put it at 10,000. I think. I don't think they're going to break 10,000. So I'll put it at 9,999, and I'll leave the 10,000 to somebody else.
Man, I'll be a little more optimistic. I'm going to go 15,500.
Historically, so Gavin, so you know, this is like a 20,000 person event. And so 1,400 people is very low. But I don't know. I just don't think they're gonna break the 10,000.
I'm gonna put it lower than you, Seth.
Oh, dang.
Yeah. I just don't know if there's a lot of things happening this year. You know, like we're still at the edge. I think it'll be bigger than next year, but I just don't know if it'll be as big as 10,000.
Well, nobody here cares about COVID anymore, so I think it'll be a big one.
You said 15,500?
Yep, that's what I said.
Yep.
And then Gavin, what are you at? You're lower than me.
I'm lower than you. Well, knowing like half that crowd.
Are you just going to say $1? I think Gavin just said $1. I'm just going to put a $1 Canadian
$1.
$1
Just
Canadian dollar. CAD
no,
next to
not
that.
$1. It's yeah, one patron.
One patron. All right. So Gavin has taken the low end there. So we'll have to see what happens. I don't know. I'm curious to see what they. I mean, it's definitely going to be a bragging moment for them to say that 15 or 20,000 people showed up. Like if they did, that would be great. It would. I'm kind of with you, Gavin. Like I don't know how many people are wanting to go back to this kind of show. I know there's a lot of people who do, but I don't know how many. Yeah. I don't know exactly how many people want to. I just have my guess, and I there it is. 9,999 people.
I just think they'll only get 20,000 if that's like 10,000 of them are looking for a shelter from the hurricane. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I know vendors that are like in St. Pete where this thing is like supposed to hit. At least, it was earlier before I, logged on for this. But that they're there in St. Pete, and the same thing actually happened to us 5 years ago. And when we were in San Diego, and the same vendor and myself, like we all basically, there's some guys in Miami, like there was a big hurricane coming up, like a 5. And the track line was like right down the highway, like where I live, like you just see it. So we all flew back. I got the last flight into town and put boards on my house. And sometime in the middle of the night, I was like, we have a less than 1-year-old. And there's a hurricane, like a category 5 hurricane that's about to hit here. Let's just leave. So we just drove straight across the state to the other side where the hurricane wasn't. We still lost power over there and had to drive back home, but it was, at least we weren't here, in case anything happened. So we're going to try and wait it out and see what happens. I don't know. If things get crazy tomorrow, we may try and do the same thing, but I don't know. I think we're going to stick with it. See what happens.
Just be safe.
Yeah, we're on the business end of this thing, so
I'm not jealous at all.
No. It's time to move.
not when you get fiber. I mean,
I know, right? I'm finally getting fiber. I'm finally getting this 2 gig fiber. I'm going to move.
Can you imagine all the iguanas are going to be flown and flying around and drop on people?
Oh man, yeah,
yep.
Hurricane of iguanas. All right. Well, we want to give a big thank you to everyone who supports the show, but especially those who are able to financially support the show through our Patreon page. If you don't know about our Patreon page, head on over to HomeTech.fm/support to learn how you can support HomeTech for as little as $1 a month. Any pledge over $5 gets you a big shout out on the show, but every single pledge gets you a private or an invite to our private Slack chat, The Hub, where you can. What were we talking about today? There was some crazy stuff floating back and forth in there today. TJ is putting hard drives on top of Arubas. I don't even know what that's about.
I was just showing off the size.
Oh, the Panasonic
TV. That's what it was.
Oh,
that's
man.
what I was
They're
just
all
cracking
getting
up
updated.
laughing. Yeah. So if you have a Panasonic TV on Wednesday, the 28th, this is another event for our event calendar here. At midnight or sometime onwards, you may see an update for your TV. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? It should be done by midday on Thursday, but who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Your TV is just going to go down and it's going to need an update. There you go. Enjoy your entertainment device. Jeez, crazy. Anyway, all that stuff is in there, and we all laugh about it. If you want to help out the show but can't support financially, totally understand. Just appreciate a 5-star review on iTunes or a positive rating in the podcast app of your choice. That wraps up another week here in Home Technology News. from everyone here, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Take care.
See you next time.
Now for our 45-minute dissertation on pawpaws.
Oh, there we go. That was funny last week.
It was.
No.
It just kept going and going and going. I'm like, I've got to end this. I've done more editing on this than I have on the actual show. So I was like, I need to stop to find a place.
Let's educate everybody on hurricanes.
Yeah, well, in Florida, you measure it by you go to the store and the water, for whatever reason, people think they need to take water bottles, so they'll buy the water bottles, and then they'll grab those, and those will go first, and the Publix brand, which is our supermarket store, those will go because those are cheap, and then you'll start seeing
they're the best.
They're actually pretty good. And then they'll see like Zephyr Hills, which is kind of a local spring thing.
Yeah.
And then you'll see like Aquafina go. But if anybody touches that Dasani stuff, if that's touched, then you just need to evacuate. Get out of town. Like nobody wants that stuff.
That's the worst
Nobody.
tasting water.
So
I'm amazed that they still sell it just because it's so bad.
it is. I mean, nobody wants. It's just there on the shelf. It could be an entire empty shelf, no water, fully stocked on Dasani. There you go. So
you know when you have a shortage when that starts to disappear.
yeah, no, people are panicking. If the Dasani's going, people are in crisis mode, and you probably just need to leave town. It's like the Waffle House thing. Did you guys know about that? Like the Waffle House, the FEMA basically measures like if an area is devastated if the Waffle House isn't open. So like if they will just drive down and the road and it's like, oh well, this Waffle House is open, this area is not that bad. And they'll just keep going until they find one that's closed. And it's like, well, if the Waffle House people can't make it into work, this place is bad. And they'll just get off the exit and go help people. So that is our federal government. All these IoT sensors and LoRaWAN, whatever, that you have, the like little devices that can tell, you can go 5 kilometers and pick up. No, we don't need any of that. We just need Waffle House. Done.
That's your sensor right there.
That's your sensor. Yeah.
Well, maybe they need the Dasani for toilet water or bath water, like maybe that's why they're buying it, They're just flushing it down the drain, literally.
Nobody needs a bath that bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's just Florida in the middle of summer, but
you come out dirtier than you went in.
It's always the middle of summer in Florida.
That's very true. That's
Doesn't
very
matter
true.
what time of year it is.
Yep.